Welcome to Oracle Arena in Oakland, California for NBA Special Edition. And the first of two games tonight on ESPN as the Golden State Warriors host the Atlanta Hawks, a team many feel is a contender for the Eastern Conference crown. One of their challenges tonight, slow down rookie Stephen Curry, who's averaging 22 points per game over his last 6. Hi, everybody, with Tim Legler. I'm Dave Pasch. So, Timmy, we get to see one of the best teams in the East, and we get to see one of the best rookies in the NBA. A lot of people weren't sure about Stephen Curry coming out. His detractors, though, are becoming believers.
Well, he's a special kid. I mean, it starts with his intellect, I think, and his work ethic. But what he has done is answered a lot of questions that people had about him, whether he can run the point at the NBA level, and he has certainly put those questions to bed. He's got great vision. He's a much better ball handler than people thought, and we know about that classic stroke that he inherited from his dad.
Yep, Del Curry, great player in the NBA. Meanwhile, he's got a shoulder quite a low because they only have 8 guys. Atlanta, though, on the other hand, very balanced offensively, but Joe Johnson is their guy.
Well, he's their leader. He's their anchor and their rock, and this team's been able to grow together with their pieces in place now for 4 or 5 years, but Joe Johnson's the guy that will decide matters late if it gets to that point. He will make decisions either through as a scorer or as a playmaker, but he's the guy that's the steadying factor on this team, and they're a very fun, exciting team to watch. Dave, might have snowboarding and skiing going on in Vancouver right now. We're about ready to see a track meet here in Oakland. This should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, just last week, Golden State put up 130 points in a game. Our starting lineups brought to you by Popeyes. Atlanta will start 4 players taller than 6'6". It's Johnson, Williams, Josh Smith, and Al Horford coming off his first All-Star appearance along with Mike Bibby. Meanwhile, Golden State will start 4 guys under 6'6", with Curry, Monte Ellis, one of the NBA's leading scorers, Anthony Morrow and Anthony Tolliver, and the 7-footer in the middle, Andris Biedrins. A lot of people thought Monte Ellis should have been an All-Star. 6th in the league in scoring, and he and Stephen Curry, the top scoring backcourt right now in the NBA. And with Boston losing tonight, a game you saw on ABC, to Denver, Atlanta has a chance to tie the Celtics for the 3rd spot in the East. Atlanta 34-19. Meanwhile, Golden State just 15 wins on the season, but they've had more injuries and more starting lineups than anybody in the NBA. Atlanta has had the fewest starting combinations and the fewest amount of injuries in the league.
Just ask Mike Woodson if that makes it just a little bit easier to win in this league when you know you can count on your top 8-9 guys being out there every night. The Warriors just haven't been able to do that this season.
And a turnover right off the start of the game here for Golden State. So Mike Bibby, point guard for the Atlanta Hawks, and through the hands of Johnson. An excellent hustle by Anthony Tolliver. And the Warriors play hard, and they got a lot of guys who are happy to be in the NBA, either players that were undrafted or second-round draft picks or guys that are recent call-ups from the D-League. 5
out of the 8 guys you're going to see tonight. He went the NBDL route, Europe, a lot of different paths to get here, and they're getting the opportunity of a lifetime. And Monte Ellis is a guy that's already taken advantage of that situation to become an all-star caliber player. And some of these other young guys now trying to make their mark.
There's one of them, Anthony Morrow, undrafted player who ended up leading the NBA in 3-point shooting last year. The first rookie to do that. He is 4th this year in that category. That one was a 2.
And with Morrow, Curry, Ellis, and C.J. Watson, who you'll see, they've got as many guys that can attack you off the dribble as anybody in the league. And it's a matchup nightmare for some teams because they know what they're going to do. They're going to spread it, attack you off the dribble, get into the paint. A lot of guys that can shoot the basketball. We'll see how Mike Woodson counters that with a much bigger lineup that he's putting out there.
Foul was on Anthony Tolliver, and Josh Smith will go to the line. You know, Legs, I mentioned at the outset of the telecast that many people feel that Atlanta is a legitimate contender for the Eastern Conference crown. How do you see it?
I definitely agree with that. I think now that you've added a Jamal Crawford to the mix, a guy that provides the kind of offensive punch off the bench they haven't really had in the past, gives them another dimension to their team. But athletically, they match up with any other team in the Eastern Conference. And, you know, we know what they've done with Boston. They've dominated them. Haven't played as well against the other 2 top teams, but in a 7-game series, they're going to give you fits. They're right there with all of those other teams and potentially could get out of the Eastern Conference this year.
Here's Ellis. And Tolliver with a jumper, rebounded by Josh Smith, who averages 8 boards per game. And Marvin Williams in his 5th year out of North Carolina struggled this year in terms of scoring and misses that time. In fact, he's averaging just 10 points per game, which is his lowest since his rookie year. And Curry able to get away from Bibby, and Stephen Curry hits his first shot.
And you see him there doing something that he has always done so well, and that's move without the basketball. That time set his man up, great back cut, got out to the wing, little flare cut, nice pass by Biedrins, ends up with a wide open jump shot.
It's the same number his dad Dell did. Dell spent 16 years in the NBA. I bet you had fun guarding him.
Oh, what a nightmare. If you were a half a second late on Del Curry, you got your feelings hurt, I can tell you that.
Meanwhile, Joe Johnson with his first basket for Atlanta. Tolliver from outside. He had been hot from out there, but only 30% over the course of the season for three-point Atlanta. Smith with a wild shot, and that'll go to Golden State.
And I tell you, if you want freedom, this is the place to play. Don Nelson lets you go out there and do your thing. I don't think there's a bad shot in his mind by anybody in the roster. But you see Curry there set his man up with a hard cut up top and flares to the wing. And so difficult to defend a guy that's constantly on the move, which he learned at Davidson and now taking it to another level here with as a Golden State Warrior.
And Curry's pass deflected by Josh Smith. And here comes Joe Johnson. And Johnson has it blocked by Tolliver. Ellis will use the Biedrins screen. Try to get it back to him, and Horford with a good defensive play. Biedrins with a good pass, and Tolliver with the finish.
I talked about guys taking advantage of opportunities. That's exactly what Tolliver has been doing over the last 3 weeks. Started off with a 10-day contract, and now he's putting together some double-double games for this team, and he knows if they play those small lineups, they need somebody who can go get the basketball off the board. That's exactly what he's been doing for Don Nelson. He's earning more and more playing time.
No Corey Maggette out with a hamstring injury tonight as Horford goes and gets his own miss. Slams it down, but he traveled first. So turnover. And we mentioned no Maggette, no Ronny Turiaf either. He's out with a sinus infection. Already Radmanovic, Anthony Randolph, Azubuike, Raja Bell, and Brandon Wright hurt. So just 8 players healthy for Golden State. Biedrins, another good look inside, and Morrow able to knock it down. It's 8-5 Golden State.
And Morrow can really light it up. And I think difficulty of guarding a team with this many guys at this size is you really can't turn your head because they're constantly in motion, and defensively presents a totally different challenge than locking in on ISOs and post-up players.
Joe Johnson, a smooth shooter from outside, his second field goal. Ellis stripped by Bibby. He's got Johnson with him. And Johnson able to finish. 6 points already for the four-time All-Star.
Thing I love about Joe Johnson, he's never in a hurry, always under control. When he's shooting a pull-up jumper, at that time in transition, fumbled the pass, took his time to get the shot that he wants.
He is among the players that will be free agents after the season. A lot of talk about whether Johnson will stay in Atlanta or maybe go to a bigger city like New York as Stephen Curry picks up the foul. That's Golden State's second and his first.
Well, he's definitely at the top of a lot of people's wish lists. I know that. Might not be in the category of LeBron and Dwayne getting all the attention, but Joe Johnson's right there in that next level. Here you see him, he drops the pass, but takes his time, uses the footwork, knows he's got a smaller player on him, can get to the reverse side for the layup.
And not many people realize he's been in the league now 9 years. It took a while for him to find a home as Biedrins knocks it out of bounds. Johnson was the 10th pick by Boston, then traded to Phoenix. Really, the Suns didn't give up a whole lot to get him, and then they traded him to Atlanta. He's now in his 5th year with the Hawks.
He was on the verge in Phoenix of kind of going to another level, suffered an eye injury during the postseason, ended up being the most highly coveted free agent that year he left Phoenix, and has really become a star in Atlanta.
Horford with the putback and a foul. They get Morrow for his first personal.
If you wanted to put together a tape for a young post player about work ethic, you could just make it all about Al Horford and just focus in on him and let your young players watch a guy that is just absolutely relentless. And he has to do it that way because he's undersized. He's not really going to jump over a lot of people because he's given up a lot of times 3-4 inches in the post, but he just goes after every basketball. And he seems like he's always around the ball making plays.
His first points of the night, 7-0 run for the Hawks. Here's Ellis. Pretty move in the lane, couldn't finish. And Biedrins able to tip it in.
Yeah. Biedrins basically has one role with this team. He let the guard shoot the ball, and you go find the gaps and seams in the paint to get some offensive putbacks, give us some second chances.
There's Curry with the rebound. Don Nelson told us that's one area where Curry has surprised him, his ability to board. And Curry with a second jumper. Nelson knew he could do that coming out of college.
Yeah, that's just smooth. And a guy knowing where he wants to get to on the floor to get into that stroke. You talk about his rebounding. He does that because he's got such a high sense of basketball IQ that he tracks the basketball and runs those rebounds down and knows the best way to trigger a break. Take it off the glass yourself.
Johnson able to get into the paint. 8 points now for Joe Johnson, being defended by much smaller players. Johnson at 6 feet 7 inches tall. And again, 4 players starting at the guard position essentially for Golden State. Pretty move by Monte Ellis.
Yeah, you'll see the whole package out of Ellis before this game's over. He can post, shoot you out to the three-point line, take you off the dribble.
Curry with the pull-up after the steal, and boarded by Josh Smith. Smith down the lane, couldn't finish with the right hand, his offhand. And Ellis able to catch up to the loose ball. And Morrow bumped by Marvin Williams, his first foul.
Yeah, Stephen Curry is a guy we talked about beforehand. You're already starting to see some of the things that he can do. Sweet pull-up, mid-range game, and then moving without the basketball. A rookie making his mark. Golden State.
Stephen Curry just 11 days ago posted a triple-double against the Los Angeles Clippers, put up 36 points. He had 13 assists and also had 10 rebounds. Really, he's been coming on the last couple of months, but that was a breakout game. And Curry's in pretty good company with that 36-point night, 13 assists to go along with 10 rebounds. In their rookie year, here are the guys that have done it: 35, 10, and 10. Oscar did it 9 times.
Yeah, oh, by the way, 9 times at the bottom there for Oscar Iverson. But what a group of players to be in. Such a difficult thing as a point guard, trying to figure out a way to not just look for your own offense, because he was such a great scorer in college, but how do you find ways to get other people involved and also go chip in and pick up 10 rebounds? Very difficult thing to do, obviously.
Love the rookie picture of Michael, too. So far, Curry with 4 points tonight. Joe Johnson, the leader for Atlanta, with 8 points. Here's Tolliver swooping through the lane, able to beat the shot clock, couldn't score, but Biedrins gives Golden State another opportunity. Curry over Horford.
You see how lightning quick that release is. I mean, he just freezes Horford for a split second by looking down at the ground in front of him, making Horford think he's getting ready to go right or left, and then just rises up immediately into his shot, locks in on the target in a split second, and releases.
Smith can't get it to go. He's 0 for 2 from the field. There's Curry in transition. Always seems to be aware of where all the defenders are.
Yeah, he really just, his head is always up. He knows where everybody is. If you back off, he's going to do that.
Just short with a 3. Tolliver again with an offensive rebound for the Warriors. They're not a good rebounding team, but getting some second chances so far. Steal by Marvin Williams. He's got Horford trailing. And a good foul there by Morrow, but that's his second. And remember, only 8 healthy players for Golden State tonight.
You see how quickly Stephen Curry, still talking about Dell, his dad. I still had nightmares when you brought his name up. Stephen, you see right here, he looks at the ground, and that's enough to freeze the defender. Al Horford, obviously a center, doesn't really want to be out that far on the perimeter in the first place. But by Curry looking at the ground, it makes the defender think he might be getting ready to put another dribble move on you. But he knew the entire time he was going to rise up and shoot that shot because he had plenty of distance. just so smooth. You love watching guys that play so effortlessly, and that's exactly how Curry plays the game. Always in control. Now, the one thing he's got to cut down, he does turn the ball over a little bit too much, but that's pretty much can be said about every rookie. And in fact, Warriors lead the league in turnovers. This is a team that just will cough the ball up, and that's one of the problems that they've had all year defensively. That's why they're last in the league in points allowed.
Friday night against Utah, Curry turned it over 10 times as Ellis connects on a long two. But Curry gave a lot of credit to Deron Williams, and he said, we asked him before the game, who's bigger or quicker than you thought? And he said Deron Williams really was the guy that surprised him, just how strong and quick he was in person.
Yeah, Deron Williams is a guy that until you see him up close and personal, you cannot believe he moves that quickly, because the way he's built more like a fullback, likes to contact in the paint, but he can turn the Jets on when he needs to. And what a learning curve for Stephen Curry. Night in and night out in this league, you're playing against guys that can just flat out embarrass you if you're not ready to play at that position.
Here's Crawford coming into the game. He leads the NBA in bench scoring and one of the leading candidates for Sixth Man of the Year. Misfires on his first shot, though. Morrow with the jumper over Horford. And Crawford, the former Warrior, with the rebound. Really only had a cup of coffee here, though, last year. Split time with the Knicks and Golden State before being traded in the offseason to Atlanta. Smith finally able to score down low.
And that's one of the few times in this game Atlanta has actually made an extra pass once they've gone into an isolation. I think if you're Mike Woodson, you got to be concerned about settling too quickly for one-on-one type situations. Make the Warriors move side to side defensively. That's where they struggle. They're not going to continue to chase the basketball.
Blocked by Josh Smith after a great move by Curry. And then Atlanta almost gives it away. Meanwhile, Curry a little slow to get up and get down the floor. And Williams knocks down an uncontested jumper.
When you play a team like the Warriors, all you really need to do is make sure you move the basketball a couple of times, force them into a situation where they have a mismatch or a miscommunication, because this is not a team with great defensive principles. You'll get whatever you want.
There's Curry. Floater is good. He thought Smith might challenge that time, so he put it up there high, and it drops in.
Yeah, that's the whole arsenal. I mean, that's the Davidson part coming out right there, because he was their entire offense, so he had to improvise and figure out ways to score when he wasn't open for a jump shot, and that's what you saw right there, a nice little running floater from about 12 feet. Very difficult shot.
Horford, good catch. He can't spin it in, but it'll go to the line. Golden State now in the penalty. Now Stephen Curry already with 8 points for the Golden State Warriors, who have a 3-point lead over the Hawks here in Oakland.
I'm Mark Jones back in the studio with the Sports Center right now in NASCAR news. Jimmie Johnson wins this week's race in California. He got a key break when he got onto pit road just seconds before a caution flag. A big turnaround from the 35th place finish at Daytona. Meanwhile, in NBA action, Vince Carter coming alive in the fourth quarter, and they got key baskets, Orlando did, from Rashard Lewis and Jameer Nelson as Orlando extends Cleveland's losing streak to 3 games. Back to you guys.
You saw Dwight Howard's numbers in that game. Half of those points coming in the fourth quarter. Also 16 rebounds, 4 blocks. Is he in the MVP discussion, or is it simply going to come down to LeBron, Durant, and D-Wade?
I think he's just outside the main circle. I think you put LeBron James, Kobe Bryant, certainly with what the Lakers have done, has got to be in that discussion.
I meant Kobe. I said Wade. Yep.
And Kevin Durant is right there. I think those 3 guys. Dwight Howard, I think, is right on that next tier. He's so important to that team. But I just think the other 3 guys' responsibilities that they have with their individual teams are a little bit greater. But Dwight Howard certainly having a great year, and I was really impressed the way he attacked today Cleveland, especially early, and didn't just have to catch the ball 3 feet from the rim. He showed you some offensive arsenal today from either block. Made sure he got the shot that he wanted, and then right at Shaq and Varejao and anybody else that was guarding. Very, very impressed. And Vince Carter was big in the fourth quarter for that team today, and that's exactly what they brought Vince Carter in there to be, and he's been that much more the last couple of weeks. Makes them a more viable threat to Cleveland in the East.
Horford hits both free throws, and Atlanta chasing Orlando. Play in the same division, the Southeast Division. And they're 0-3 against the Magic this year. as Curry misses, and a good look by Smith down court, and a basket by Teague, and a Curry foul. That's 2 on Curry. 3 Golden State players with 2 fouls already, and again, they got only 8 healthy guys tonight.
Oh, and that's the rule when you're guarding a guy that's going to shoot a three-pointer, particularly when he kind of faded away the way that he did, and you run out, get a hand up, and then just take off. And that time, no one got back on the opposite side of the floor for the Golden State Warriors, and it led to a transition basket.
You know, we asked Mike Woodson about Teague, how he's coming along, and he said it's hard to play 3 different point guards. And Teague, though, is coming along, making the most of the minutes he's getting. He was the 19th pick in last year's draft, and Stephen Curry was taken 7th.
And eventually Teague is going to be a starting point guard in this league, and I think he's a guy that can really do some special things. But right now, it's very difficult. You got Mike Bibby, Jamal Crawford. They're the 2 guys you're going to be going with. So I think Mike Woods is trying to find Teague minutes wherever he can. But as the season goes on and we get tighter into March and April, I think his minutes are even going to be cut back from what they are now. So it's more of a learning experience this year for Jeff Teague.
Here's Crawford off the Pachulia screen, and Jamal Crawford with his first basket. Averaging 18 points per game, which leads all reserves in the NBA this year.
You talked about, you know, in mentioning him in the category for 6th man of the year. He is the 6th man of the year. If Jamal Crawford stays healthy down the stretch, I don't think there's any question he's had the biggest impact of any player in this league coming off the bench. He just comes in and gives them another dimension that you don't lose anything offensively when you come to your 3rd guard, and it's very few teams in this league can say that.
Devin George hits the first free throw coming up on Tuesday on NBA TV. The Lakers will be in Memphis, and then they'll go to Dallas on Wednesday, a game you'll see on ESPN. Kobe expects to be back, by the way, for that game Tuesday against Memphis. Then a doubleheader Thursday on TNT, Cleveland at Boston, followed by Denver at Golden State. And then next Sunday on ABC, Phoenix, San Antonio, Denver, Lakers. Hawks 24, Golden State 21. Curry got to be careful not to pick up that 3rd foul guarding Teague. Shot clock at 7. Teague gets to the basket and rebounded by Curry. About a 7-second difference here between the game and shot clocks. Ellis, the extra pass by Curry. Morrow misses the 3. Rebound by Smith. Atlanta will hold for the final shot. Here's Crawford on Ellis. 5 seconds to go in the quarter. Crawford, pretty move in the lane, couldn't score. Atlanta closes the quarter on an 11-3 run to take a 3-point lead.
Great guard play for Golden State early in this one. Monte Ellis and Steph Curry. An explosive package for the Warriors. Monte Ellis 26 a night getting it done, and it's Steph Curry showing you off that smooth shooting stroke. Atlanta by 3 after 1.
Welcome back to Oakland, Coach Woodson. Were you pleased with your offensive execution, or would you like to see more ball movement out of your guys?
We're a little sluggish. I mean, we tried to go inside and look at the mismatches. We're going to have that all night. But I'm very pleased with giving up 21 points. That's a great quarter. You know, we got to build on that and go from there.
How do you stop Stephen Curry?
Well, I mean, again, we're switching a lot of things. We got to make sure that we get up, not give him wide open looks. The guy's a hell of a shooter. So we just got to continue to switch our defenses like we've been doing and just play from there.
Thanks, Coach.
Yeah, and I actually thought Atlanta really competed in the second quarter, particularly defensively with their switches and getting out further on the floor when you switch. Doesn't do you any good to switch if you then lay off. You've got to switch with the intent on forcing somebody further out on the floor, so they have to operate their offense from out there. Much better job by Atlanta in the second quarter after Golden State came out real hot early.
Atlanta, one of the top teams in terms of scoring, 11th in the league. Golden State number 2 in the NBA, averaging 107 points per game. C.J. Watson off the bench. Great look to Curry and beautiful finish. Curry in double figures with 10 points.
Well, they go with this lineup with Watson, Ellis, and Curry. They've got 3 guys that can just get out and fly in transition. And this is going to be a challenge for Atlanta to make sure they get back and try to take away the easy buckets, because it's what Golden State wants to do. Get out and get early shots.
Easy basket for Josh Smith. He had 6 first-quarter rebounds and now 5 points as well. Joe Johnson has 8 points to lead the Hawks in scoring. Curry with 10 for Golden State. Ellis on the back door. Great pass by Devin George.
That's a beautiful job that time by Monte Ellis. He rode his man up the lane, knowing all along if he got him high enough, he could just spin out, go back to the rim. There was no weak side help down there. Perfect pass, execution by the Warriors. Take a look here. Now, at some point, when a guy's trying to front you, you're only going to take him so high. That time, he went all the way past the foul line, and you're basically still being fronted. Defensively, at some point, you've got to release and allow him to catch the basketball out there and then try to play him. But defensively, on the weak side, they weren't really aware of that time, and no one was under the rim to protect that.
Ellis had a sprained left knee that cost him 3 games. His first game back was on Friday. He was just 2 of 14 in that game. As that banks in as the shot clock was winding down for a 3.
You'll take him any way you can get him. When you're a scorer, you'll take him any way you can. You won't even think twice about that.
Yep. Neither will Ellis as he comes right back and answers the Crawford 3. Ellis now with 9 points.
Yeah, Jamal Crawford certainly knows these rims, so I'm sure he'll tell you later after the game when I talk to him, he'll say he meant that all along.
Crawford in his 10th NBA season. He's never been to the playoffs. He said he's having more fun this year than he's had since his senior year of high school. Beatrice ends up coming down with a loose ball after Crawford almost had a miracle pass after the miracle shot. C.J. Watson, who had a 40-point game against Sacramento last week, gives Golden State the 1-point lead.
Yeah, I mean, he can flat out light it up. With Watson, Curry, Ellis, Morrow, all of those guys are capable of having a 40-point night if they get it going. So they've got plenty of firepower. And Watson, once he gets it going, he's going to be hard to stop.
Here's Ellis, a long 3. Way off that time. And if you're guys like Watson and Morrow and Tolliver getting a chance to play in the NBA, I assume a system like this has to give you confidence because you know the coach isn't going to pull you if you miss one.
That's huge for a young player. I mean, really, I think for myself, even when I started out my career, when you're on a shorter leash and you're coming into a system with a lot less margin for error and each possession means so much more, it's difficult sometimes to find shots and to put together any kind of confidence. I finally had my breakthrough in Washington, playing for a guy like Jimmy Lyon, and we just said, look, go out there and play. And if you miss, you miss. Make mistakes, go ahead. That's what these guys are getting the opportunity to do right now. Even though they're losing a lot of games, the experience they're getting right now will pay off down the road.
Here's Curry, and fouled on the way to the basket. Second personal on Jeff Teague. They're starting to get it going up and down the floor here in Oakland. Stephen Curry with 10 points to lead the way for Golden State. Back in Oakland, where Golden State has a 1-point lead. Let's take a look at some news and notes from around the NBA. Cleveland losing a game you saw on ABC at Orlando. Denver also on ABC today, knocked off Boston. T-Mac in his Knick debut at 26 points last night. Not enough, though, to beat Oklahoma City. It's a long season, Tim Legler, but are you starting to get concerned about Cleveland?
Not really concerned. I think there's some things that they've got to be careful about. They don't fall into the same traps that they fell into a year ago. I thought their predictability last year in the postseason really cost them. And you go out, you get Shaquille O'Neal, you bring in an Anthony Parker. You've got enough weapons on that team now to spread the ball out at given times in the game. You don't necessarily mean that LeBron James shouldn't be starting every possession, but I think the ball doesn't move sometimes when things get tight for that team. And I think they've got to be careful they don't fall into that trap, because I think that is what cost them the series against the Orlando Magic a year ago. They couldn't guard Rashard Lewis, and they were too predictable offensively. They're still the best team in the Eastern Conference, and I think the best team in the NBA right now on both ends of the court. you get a little concerned when you see them start to choke the ball a little bit in the fourth quarter, and I felt that's what they were doing against Orlando today.
Now, do you say they're the best team in the NBA because Kobe has not been playing the last few games for the Lakers?
Because the Lakers right now are banged up, and even though they've been able to win games without Kobe Bryant, I think the way that the Cleveland Cavaliers have steamrolled through people over the last month, offensively, defensively, a lot of guys contributing, they just look like they have been the most consistent team this season.
Devin George, long jumper, no. The pass from Curry was probably not where he wanted it. Still Golden State on a 7-0 run. And Denver cooling off of the Celtics today. Boston had won at LA and at Portland on their road trip. Here's Johnson wide open.
He was wide open, but he never really got on balance. He kind of stumbled when he caught that pass, never got his feet under him when he shot that ball, and that's why it ended up short. But fortunately, they're going to get another opportunity.
Atlanta is hoping that it does not play Cleveland in the postseason, assuming, of course, they win their first-round matchup. They got smoked by the Cavs in the playoffs last year, and they're 0-2 against them this year. They'd love to see Boston. They swept Boston, and even 2 years ago, virtually the same group of Hawks took Boston to 7 games the year the Celtics won the title.
They match up well with them. And one thing Atlanta really does well is chase the basketball on defense because they've got a lot of versatile parts. And that's what Boston relies on. Ball movement, ball changes sides of the floor, a lot of different guys they go to. And Atlanta matches up well with that. And they just don't have any intimidation factor when they play the Boston Celtics. They just seem like they get ready to play them and are very confident they're going to go out there and knock them off. Any of those teams want to avoid Cleveland until the conference finals if possible. So you want to be a 2 or 3 seed ideally and take your chances and then take the Cavs in their building in a best-of-7 if it gets that far.
Second team foul. They get Pachulia. You saw a shot at Dominique Wilkins, who's in the front office now for the Atlanta Hawks. He was saying after that 3 by Crawford, or at least looked like he was saying, I'm glad we got him. Trade in the offseason that brought another score for the playoffs. As Curry gets to the basket, he's got 14 points already.
You know, Stephen Curry is one of those guys. He never really looks like he's exerting himself in terms of a burst, but he gets to where he wants to and seems to find those seams and gaps, and very clever with the basketball that time, moving it around, getting it out of the shot blocker's hand and getting it up on the glass. Just such a knack for knowing how to put the basketball up there and finding ways to score.
Watson around Williams, out to George. And Williams clears. Here's Crawford pushing the pace. Pretty move, but then lost the ball. 3-on-2. Ellis back to George. And looked like he got pushed by Pachulia, but no foul.
Yeah. Pachulia gave him a little nudge to help him out. And Devin George able to finish. You see how Golden State just converts every turnover into a 4-on-something fast break going the other direction with all these quick players on the court.
Crawford with his third 3. I guess he needed that first one to bank in because the last 2 have hit nothing but net. Curry, nice lead for Biedrins, who could not finish. Biedrins has 5 assists, by the way, and 2 points in this game. Marvin Williams, no. Out to Ellis. You need a breather? Are you okay?
I tell you what, this is great. I'm just sitting here, Dave, and I'm just thinking, wow, I'd love to get out there right now and get some touches in this system that Golden State runs, because everyone just has the green light to run to spots and be creative offensively.
Golden State only has 8 guys. It would probably get you some sneakers. Meanwhile, Curry with 14 points, and the rookie with a beautiful move to the basket. Golden State on top of Atlanta by 1.
Mark Jones in the studio with his Taco Bell update. Oklahoma City, the hottest team in the NBA right now. They've won 8 consecutive games. Number 5 in the Western Conference. Kevin Durant with a miss, and Russell Westbrook says, I got your back. Don't worry about it. Right now, leading by 6 in Minnesota. Meanwhile, the Spurs, where have the good days gone? Number 7 in the Western Conference and trailing the Pistons in overtime at the Palace. Back to you guys.
1-point game here, Mark, in Oakland. Meanwhile, tomorrow night, Big Monday presented by Bud Light starts at Connecticut. Big one for the Huskies. Try to build that resume, taking on West Virginia, followed by Kansas and Oklahoma. More basketball Wednesday night as The NBA takes us to Dallas as the Mavericks host Kobe Bryant and the Lakers. Kobe expected to play that game. He thinks he'll be back Tuesday when the Lakers visit Memphis.
And a guy like Kobe Bryant is not going to mind getting a couple weeks off right now at this time of the year. The toughest 2 months to play in the NBA season, January and February. He'll get a chance to recharge that battery and come back, stronger than ever. And that's kind of a scary thought considering how well they've played without him out there, because they've got so many other guys they can run their offense through.
Foul was on Joe Johnson, 4th team foul. Golden State has not committed a foul this quarter. Here's Ellis over Johnson. Monte Ellis, 5 of 7 from the field, 11 points.
Yeah, Joe Johnson has the size advantage over him, but at the same time, laterally, it's going to be tough for him to go out that far on the court because Monte Ellis is so quick with his first step. So Joe Johnson's trying to give him enough of a cushion where he can get a hand up. That time gave him a little bit too much space, and Ellis is able to stroke it.
Long rebound to Ellis. Here's Watson in transition. He'll let it fly. And Crawford fouled by Curry. That's 3 on him. Jamal Crawford with 11 points already. He can heat up in a hurry. In fact, he is one of only 4 players to score 50 or more points with 3 different teams. And look at this company.
Amazing statistic, amazing company to be in. And just to think about what we're talking about, to even play 3 different teams where you're able to even get involved in the offense to that extent, but to go for 53 different uniforms on, just an incredible thing. But it's a testament to how fast this guy can heat up. He's already got 11 points in just 12 minutes in this game, and that's exactly what they brought him in to do. And he's very comfortable with his role coming off the bench because he knows he's going to be out there most of the time when the game's on the line, and that's all he really wants.
Bibby with the basket. Pretty good move by Rick Son to trade Speedy Claxton and AC Law to Golden State in the offseason for Crawford. Missed by Ellis. And Crawford told us before the game he just wanted to fit in at the beginning of the year, and then said that Mike Woodson told him, hey, we really need you to be one of the top bench scorers in the NBA, and that's what he's become, as somehow Monte Ellis got the handle under the basket when it looked like it was going to go out of bounds, and he's got 13 points now.
Tremendous move by Ellis that time. Got into the air and lost it for a second on the dish off, but got it back, and so quick off his feet for that second attempt. One thing about Monte Ellis, you've seen him uncork a couple of air balls already. He'll never stop shooting. And he took 39 shots in the game earlier this year, so he is going to continue to fire, and at some point he's going to string together some buckets.
Johnson now in double figures with 10. Ellis had a 46-point game a couple weeks ago, and there he goes again to the basket. He's got 15 in the first half and 11 in the quarter.
And that just shows you how special this guy can be. I mean, he went from 30 feet out with one dribble spin, and he's taking off outside the paint, finishing at the rim before anybody from Atlanta can get there to recover. Just so explosive, and then Jamal Crawford comes right back and answers.
Crawford now with 13. That was a 2. Crawford has 11 in the quarter. Here's Ellis with a pass, and Hunter, rookie out of Michigan, throws it down. It's going to be a fun backcourt to watch over the next several years. Monte Ellis and Stephen Curry. Here's Bibby to Horford. Pretty.
When you figure Morrow and C.J. Watson into the mix, and then Anthony Randolph, who is a very, very talented young front court player, is not playing right now. The future's bright. They've got a lot of young talent. They just have to now establish some sort of a winning culture here so these guys don't pick up bad habits.
Looked like a travel, no call. And then on the other end, a foul called after Hunter went for the block on Bibby.
Monte Ellis was a guy that a lot of people thought should have been in Dallas for All-Star Weekend. Here's just a sample of why he's generating that kind of buzz this season. You see the explosiveness, the athleticism, and then the vision to find people. Warriors have the game at their pace, lead by 1.
Back in Oakland, Golden State on top of Atlanta by 1 with 2:35 to play in the half. And the Warriors head coach Don Nelson 9 wins away from breaking Lenny Wilkens' record for most coaching wins NBA history. He's in his 4th year of a second stint with Golden State, 31st overall as a head coach in the league.
Tremendous accomplishment, and look at that list of names. And Don Nelson's been around a long time. He's coached a lot of different players and teams. And one thing you can always say about Don Nelson, he is going to make sure you have to figure out a way to match up with what he's going to bring to you, because he's going to put a number of different lineups out there. Always been very creative with the kinds of lineups and the type of offense he's going to put out there, and going to make sure you lose some sleep thinking about what you're going to do when you play a Don Nelson coach team.
Coming up on NBA TV, Tim, on Tuesday, Kobe Bryant expected to return for the Lakers as they play Memphis. They'll be in Dallas on Wednesday on ESPN. Doubleheader TNT Thursday. Cavs, Celtics, Denver at Golden State. Then on ABC, a week from today, Phoenix at San Antonio, Denver at the Lakers. Rematch of the Western Conference Finals and perhaps a preview of the Western Conference Finals this year as well. Bibby got the second free throw. We're tied at 44. Should the Lakers be concerned after watching Denver today, especially with the way they handled the Celtics in the first quarter? And Boston beat the Lakers on Thursday. Granted, Kobe didn't play.
Well, you know, there's no real nights off when you talk about the top 10, 12 teams in the Western Conference. I mean, you've got your hands full every night. Well-designed play that time. Josh Smith at the back pick on the weak side. Perfectly timed pass by Mike Bibby for the oop. But that Western Conference is brutal. And Denver,
they're 2-0 against the Lakers already.
Dallas is a team that's greatly improved with the trade that they made before the deadline. So now the Lakers definitely have some teams that can challenge them.
See how Caron Butler fits in there in Dallas, but that looked like a great trade considering what the Mavs got and then what they gave up, considering Josh Howard, a guy that they wanted to trade. Usually you don't get the kind of player like Butler in return when you really want to get rid of a guy.
No, he brings so much to that team. Defense, toughness. He's efficient offensively, and he's a great guy in the locker room.
Watson, great pass. Another dunk for Chris Hunter.
You know, it's very difficult if you're Mike Woodson and that staff to come up with the way to game plan for Golden State defensively, because they have guys all over the court that can just break you down individually. And it's tough to dictate where the rotation is going to come from. Where's the help? Because the basketball could be coming into the paint from any different angle. And that's exactly what they're doing right now and really exploiting the individual matchups.
Johnson got it to Horford, and he's fouled. Third team foul on Golden State. Second on Hunter. And coming up on the Toyota halftime show with Mark Jones, Avery Johnson, and Jamal Mashburn. They'll talk about what the Magic did in the fourth quarter today against Cleveland. We talked about Denver knocking off another top team. Melo did it in Cleveland the other night. Today against Boston, and Oklahoma City going for a 9th straight win. Stephen Curry, 14 points. Monte Ellis with 15 to lead the way. For Golden State tonight, Crawford has 13 to lead the Hawks. Horford now with 9 points.
The best thing for Don Nelson is that Ellis and Curry combined 13 for 20. So that they're putting up numbers, but they're doing it efficiently.
Only 8 healthy players for Golden State, but they beat Dallas on the road this year with only 6 guys, so it's doable. Watson, another 3-point opportunity after another quick move to the hoop.
Yeah, I mean, these guys come off pick and roll, and they're just all so quick and explosive. Get to the rim. Look at the hesitation that time by Watson, and then he just goes to another gear and accelerates to the rim. And Josh Smith was expecting him to pull up and shoot a jump shot right there. Instead, takes one extra dribble and forces the contact, and now he's got a chance for a 3-point play.
5 points now for Watson. He scored better than 23 straight games, including a 40-point game against Sacramento last Wednesday, a career high. Under a minute remaining here in the second quarter, Warriors lead the Hawks by 1. Johnson shooting over Ellis, and Joe Johnson with 12.
Yeah, well, Joe Johnson knows with his size that he can get wherever he wants to for that pull-up jump shot. That time he felt he was being held by Ellis.
Just got teed up
prior to the jump shot, and that's why he had a few words there and ends up with a technical foul. And you know, there was a lot of contact that time before Joe Johnson actually went into his pull-up jumper.
And Dick Bavetta comes over to help out Matt Boland. They're still talking with Joe Johnson. So Morrow will shoot the technical.
Well, Joe Johnson is saying, look, I'm an all-star 4 times, and I'm out here. Monte Ellis is hounding me. He's all over my jersey. He's grabbing my off arm when I'm trying to handle the basketball. You know, where's the respect? Give me a call. You see Ellis right here. You know, he's digging in right there. He's got a little bit of hold of Joe Johnson's arm, grabs a little bit of back of his jersey. And Joe Johnson just wants to get to an area on the floor where he can rise up with that 6'7" length and get his jump shot off. Got the shot he wanted, but felt like the message he's trying to send to the official is going to pay off later on, not necessarily with that play.
Monte Ellis with a great catch, but he just couldn't finish. Here comes Johnson again on Ellis. He'll shoot from exactly the same spot. Ellis might have gotten a piece of that. Here he is on the other end, cherry picking for two.
Great job contesting the shot by Johnson. He either got a piece of the basketball or a piece of Joe Johnson's hand, one of the two, but got enough where that ball ended up short, and then he just takes off down the court, and Golden State is going to make you pay anytime you have a bad shot or a turnover.
About a half a second difference between game and shot clocks. Here's Crawford. They went to him at the end of the first quarter, and he missed on Ellis. Here he goes again. Missed again, but a foul, and he'll shoot two. Monte Ellis commits his first foul, and so Crawford will go to the free throw line. He shoots 85% from there.
Well, he has mastered a move, what basically we call a rocker dribble, where he's just going back and forth, and you know at any time he can rise up because he's got unlimited range. But then once you lean forward a little bit, when you think he's going to rise up defensively, then all of a sudden he puts that crossover on you and he's by you in a blur. And so explosive, getting to where he wants. That's what the Atlanta Hawks are going to go to most of the time when he's on the floor. Last second shot of a quarter is him in the middle of the floor, spread it.
Leads the NBA in bench scoring. 15 points tonight. Here's Ellis, 2 seconds to go. Ellis from midcourt. And Atlanta will take a 1-point lead into the locker room after Crawford's free throws. Atlanta closed out the first quarter on an 11-3 run and a 15-9 run to end the second period. Good first half for Stephen Curry at 14 points. Coming up on the Toyota halftime show next, they'll give you the highlights from today's games you saw on ABC, including Orlando, Cleveland, and Denver, Boston. A backcourt to watch this year and for many years to come, perhaps. Monte Ellis and Stephen Curry, and then Jamal Crawford on the other end, leading the way for the Atlanta Hawks with 15. As Atlanta leads Golden State by 1 at the break. The Toyota halftime show coming up after these messages. Welcome back to NBA Special Edition. The first of 2 games tonight on ESPN from Oracle Arena. In Oakland, the Golden State Warriors, led by Stephen Curry's 14 points and 17 for Monte Ellis, within 1 of the Atlanta Hawks. Back with Tim Legler. I'm Dave Pasch. Tim, after you stopped salivating watching these guards run around in Golden State's offense, I know you'd love to be out there playing with Ellis and Curry. How about the way they take advantage of their opportunities in this offense?
Wasn't there a little bit of talk early that these guys couldn't play together? I'm not really seeing too much of that tonight. They seem like they found the perfect blend of when to attack and when to help each other in facilitating the offense. And you've seen a little bit of everything that you expected going into this one. Stephen Curry just so fundamentally sound and always under control. Look at the back cut that time to create space. And look at the ball work and the footwork on the pump fake to get into the runner and the floater. And then finally, this is the one area he's better at than anybody thought. Ability to get into the paint and finish against much bigger players at this level. And then Monte Ellis, guys, as explosive a scorer as we have in this league right now, 26 a night. He showed you a little bit of everything.
See the numbers for them combining for 31 points. Both players just so quick, able to create their own shots as well. On the other side, Jamal Crawford, we talked to him before the game, Tim, and he told us that when I first got to Atlanta, I didn't want to step on anybody's toes, but you can tell now when he's on the floor, he's taking control.
I've known Jamal a long time. He's a very conscientious player, and he's a guy that you like to have in your locker room because of that. He comes into Atlanta. He knows he can get a shot whenever he wants, but he's coming to a good team. He deferred early, but he can still take over games when he needs to. And when he gets rolling, you've got to come up with something else defensively to get the ball out of his hands, because he's got range out to about 28 feet, can take you off the dribble, and he can carry this team offensively for long stretches. So now you've got to run somebody at him, make some other guys start to take shots, because Jamal Crawford found his rhythm in that second quarter, and he and Joe Johnson are countering.
Apologize for the technical problems we're having with the picture. We'll get that fixed as soon as possible. For those of you wondering why those two guys look so good on camera, we are having technical difficulties. Atlanta will start the second half of the basketball, leading Golden State by 1. The Hawks 34-19, fourth best record in the East, but they can tie Boston for the third best mark after the Celtics lost in Denver today. Joe Johnson now with 14 points, and he'll go to the line to try to convert the three-point play.
Well, if you're Golden State, you can't let Joe Johnson have that many dribbles against Monta Ellis. He's just too big and too strong. He caught the ball that time at the three-point line. He ends up down in the restricted area. You know, 5-6 dribbles is too many for a guy that big. Somebody's got to come, force the double team, make him kick it out, and then you're quick enough defensively with the guys you have to scramble out the three-point shooters.
I want to apologize for some of the technical problems we had earlier with the picture, as well as some audio issues, but got it fixed now. Atlanta has its largest lead after Monta Ellis picked up the foul. Golden State got to be careful. Only 8 healthy players. Meanwhile, Marvin Williams with a foul on the other end, his second. And that's the bench. Maybe Brandon Wright there, Radmanovich, both out with injuries. Anthony Randolph still out with an ankle problem. Raja Bell with a wrist. And Curry picking up where he left off. Now 16 points in the game.
Yeah, and it's virtually the same play that he started off with. Little high pick and roll, gets to the right elbow, and a nice little in-rhythm jump shot. And he's picking up exactly where he left off to end the half.
You know, Tim, we talked at the top of the telecast about many of the detractors becoming believers. I know you were a guy that thought that he would make the transition. Is there an area where he surprised you about how he's been able to adapt?
Yeah, I didn't think he could finish as well as he does at this level. And you saw him basically moving without the basketball in college. So he would get layups and he'd get to the rim. But he's able to get in there and finish over legitimate 6'10" to 7-foot players that are extremely athletic. And that has surprised me a little bit.
I knew that he's going to be able to shoot the ball, obviously. His playmaking and vision, I saw enough of it at Davidson to know that he could do that at this level. But he's really done a nice job of mixing up his game and getting to the rim,
not just settling for that pure jump shot.
Tough shot by Devin George. How about Curry on the other end?
Well, he's still got a long way to go there. And I think that's going to come as he starts to play on teams that are more competitive defensively overall. I think you'll see Stephen Curry pick it up.
He's gotten better as the year's gone on. And the one thing he can do, got a knack for playing passing lanes. He's 6th in the league in steals as a rookie, which is pretty impressive, that he has the knowledge to understand where he could take risks and gambles and make them pay off.
Good defense by Marvin Williams, blocking Monta Ellis' shot. And Bibby all the way to the basket. Contact but no foul, and then Josh Smith gets held by Morrow. That's the third team foul in Golden State, third personal on Anthony Morrow.
A lot of contact on the Bibby drive as well. He thought he got fouled. He laid there for a couple extra seconds, and Atlanta ends up with another opportunity because Josh Smith stayed with the play. See Bibby here. He's just trying to get contact. Jumps into Biedrins. It's a pretty nice job backing away, but then his arm comes down. I thought he got Mike Bibby across the arm as he tried to shoot that basketball. I think the only reason he didn't get the call was because he looked a little out of control, I think, to the officials, and Josh Smith able to follow it up, and he's going to get the opportunity that Mike Bibby didn't.
Mike Woodson in his 6th year. Played for Bob Knight at Indiana, was an assistant under Larry Brown, won the championship in Detroit in 04, and they've had more wins than the previous year and each season that Woodson's been the head coach in Atlanta. Bibby's 3 in and out. Smith there, put back, no. Finally, Williams tips it in.
Well, this is what Atlanta needs to do. I looked down at the first half, at the end of the half, only 6 second-chance points for Atlanta in the first half, despite the fact that Golden State is playing smaller, and the Warriors had 16 transition points. So they're doing what they need to do with a small lineup, but Atlanta was not conscientious enough about going to the boards every time and making a pay. We've already seen it twice here early in the third quarter.
Kicked ball, so reset the shot clock to 14. Atlanta last year won 47 games, lost in the second round of the playoffs. First time in more than a decade they won a playoff series. Pushed Boston to 7 games 2 years ago when they won only 37 in the regular season. Ellis with a step back pass, shot clock down to 4. Here's Morrow off the mark from three-point land. Curry is there. Very aware, looked around, waited, and then took the shot and hit it. He's got 18.
Yeah, he ended up with the basketball, but then Marvin Williams basically left him, and he's the best shooter on the floor, and he kind of just let Stephen Curry dribble into a wide open 15-foot jump shot.
Horford got it. And a three-point opportunity.
And the Hawks now starting to exert their size and strength on the Golden State Warriors. You've seen them on the glass. Saw Joe Johnson in an ISO post-up that led to a three-point play. And now Horford, the same thing. I mean, these guys are bigger up front, more athletic. They've got to get in there and really attack Golden State from within. The other thing that'll do is make Golden State defensively have 5 guys in the paint, which makes it a lot more difficult to get out in transition.
Why didn't it happen earlier?
I just think they became out a little bit lethargic, and I don't think Mike Woodson was really happy with the attention to detail that his team had early in the game. Sometimes when you play a team like Golden State, you get wrapped up in that pickup game mentality, and it's a wake-up call when you find yourself, you know, 1-point game at the half. You've got to come out and do some things differently, and they're starting to do that. They're playing their game right now.
On Friday against the Suns, they were held, remember, it's the Suns, to 30 second-half points. So they struggled in the first quarter like they struggled in the second half of Friday's game as Marvin Williams started to get going. That's a 2. Don Nelson calls a timeout.
Yeah, he's got to figure out where these double teams are going to come from now, because Johnson and Horford are getting down low and making Golden State figure out what to do. Nice little run by Atlanta, up by 7.
We talked earlier about the increased win total in each of Mike Woodson's 6 seasons at the helm of the Atlanta Hawks. Well, let's take a look at it. 13 the first year, then 26, 30, 37. They lost the Celtics in 7 games, 47 last year. Right now, 34, and we're assuming that they'll win more than 47 this year with the squad he has with 29 games to go.
He'll be between 50 and 55 when this year's over, and when you see that, one of the reasons this team has been together, they've grown together with Mike Woodson. I mean, this core group now with Williams and Johnson and Josh Smith, Bibby, Al Horford, and Woodson, these guys have been a core group now for 4 or 5 years, and you start to build continuity and trust, and you know what to expect on the court. So this is a team that's grown the right way, and they feel like they're now ready to take another step.
Were you surprised they didn't do anything at the trade deadline?
Not really, and I think it's because of what I just mentioned with the continuity. They know they did not want to break up their top 6 guys. Now, they might have gone out and made a smaller trade to help get a little bit more depth in the front line for that bench. But I really believe that they are a team that, a little bit cocky. They think that they're ready now to go challenge teams like Cleveland, Orlando, and Boston and really give them all they can handle this year in the East.
Josh Smith taking it strong to the basket. Again, he'll go to the line for a 3-point opportunity. Biedrins picking up his 2nd foul, 4th team foul on Golden State. Smith now with 9 points, 10 rebounds. Strong move right at Biedrins.
Well, and I have felt for the last 3 years that Josh Smith is the key to this team's success in the postseason. He has the ability to put his stamp on just about every game he plays. And if he can be smarter with his shot selection, cut down on some turnovers, and come with the focus that he has to have on every possession, he's a game-changing type of player. And I think he's the guy athletically that they need to be special once they get to the playoffs.
He's 1 for 5 at the free throw line in this game as Devin George hits another long jumper. That's a 2. George, a former Laker and Maverick, spent the last 3 years in Dallas. Here's an alley-oop to Horford from Josh Smith.
Set play, and that time Andris Biedrins just basically turned his head and completely lost Al Horford at the foul line, did not maintain contact, so when he slipped to the rim, he had no idea where he had gone.
Great hands by Curry. Shot clock is at 7. Ellis has not scored in the 3rd quarter. And misfires again. Golden State got to be careful this thing doesn't get away from him as Smith takes it to the rim again. And maybe not a bad idea to foul him. He's just 1 out of 5 at the line. He'll go back there for 2. Foul on George, his first. Warriors in the penalty.
The biggest difference right now in the game is Golden State isn't forcing any turnovers. They're first in the league in that category, and they're first in the league at scoring off of those turnovers. But when you're taking the ball to the net, if you're Golden State and you've got to come down every possession with a smaller lineup, it's tough to grind out points sometimes.
Watch live games online with NBA League Pass broadband, now available for half price. Log on to www.nba.com/LPBB to watch 3 games at once. Use Live Game DVR and check out full season archives all season long. And Smith got the second one, just 2 of 7 at the strike. 10-point Atlanta lead.
Big 6 minutes right here for Golden State. They've got to get this to a workable margin. If this thing gets to 16-18 heading into the 4th quarter, it's going to be tough because Atlanta will just grind you down with their size. Golden State needs to figure out a way to force a couple turnovers, get out in transition, and make something happen in the open court. Atlanta has no turnovers in the last 12 minutes.
And another jumper, this one by Horford. Horford with 15 points, largest lead of the game for Atlanta. George drives right by Smith and can't get the layup. Starting to wonder if the Warriors are running out of gas. Again, only 8 healthy players, and at this pace, tough to keep up. Smith, great rebound, gets to Horford. 3-point opportunity for him.
And that right there sums up exactly the advantage Atlanta has in this game. And you see Josh Smith that time, he's so big and strong and athletic. Get in there, move bodies, get that second chance if Joe Johnson's miss, and then interior passing finds Al Horford, who hangs around the rim to make something happen. At the other end, you see Golden State. I mean, Biedrins is the only guy anywhere near the paint when that ball goes up in the air. Atlanta's got 3 bodies in there all the time trying to pick up some second chance points. At least they did. So have done that so far in this quarter. Didn't do that in the first half.
But Tolliver comes in for Biedrins. Golden State going real small here. Horford with 8 points in the quarter. Now 18 for the game to go along with 8 rebounds. Biedrins with 3 fouls on the bench. But Atlanta with plus 14. Free throw made margin. They're 14 to 22. At the free throw line. There's Curry. He's got 20.
Well, right now, that's their best bet. Go to some pick and roll. Atlanta's switching almost all of those. And if you're Curry or Ellis, you end up with a bigger guy out on the floor. Right now, that's their best opportunity to get back in this game. Let those 2 guys create some space to get some jump shots.
Horford, no. Rebound, Curry. That's 7 rebounds now for Curry. Ahead to Watson with the left hand. Timeout, Atlanta. Stephen Curry doing it all again for the Warriors. One of the best rookies in the NBA somehow found a cutting C.J. Watson for a deuce. A game high 20 points for Stephen Curry. Golden State, though, trails Atlanta by 11. Curry 9 of 13 from the field. He is a Rookie of the Year candidate, really coming alive the last couple of months. Got off to a little bit of a slow start. Tyreke Evans, the front runner, having a great year for Sacramento. Kings are struggling this year, but Evans has been spectacular, averaging 20 points per game. Dewan Blair has had an excellent year, 2nd-round pick, as has Lawson and Jennings. Here are your top 5 rookies. Who do you think ends up winning the award?
I think Tyreke Evans, he's got his foot in the door right now. It's just because of what he's doing with that team. His body means that he's a guy that can do a few things in the paint that Stephen Curry's not going to be able to do right now. Both of their teams are cellar dwellers there out in the Pacific Division, but Evans' responsibility, he's taken over with Kevin Martin out most of the year, and now he's been traded. They've given the franchise over to Tyreke Evans right now, and then he certainly looks like a star in the making, but Curry's right there with the impact that he's had here in Golden State. And then Dewan Blair and Lawson, Brandon Jennings, all of those guys. It's been a great rookie class. A lot more guys have stepped into prominent roles on teams than I think anybody expected after the draft. But Curry and Evans, to me, the 2 guys at the very top.
Golden State now on the penalty as Ellis picks up his 3rd personal foul. Curry was the 7th pick in the draft. And Joe Johnson hits the first free throw. An interesting move made by Sacramento, getting Carl Landry for Kevin Martin. And so it's Evans' show, but Landry could be a big help as that's a team looking to improve.
Oh, without a doubt. And they've got some talent out there with Tyreek Evans, young talent as well. We talked about what they've got in the stable here in Golden State, but you look out there with Jason Thompson, a guy that I really like as a second-year player to go along, obviously, with Evans. Now you bring Carl Landry in to help them up front. That's a team, Spencer Hawes, that's a team that's got some young talent as well, headed in the right direction, but still a few years away from being a competitive team in the Western Conference.
Here's Joe Johnson. He's got 20 points to lead the Hawks. Been to the All-Star game the last 4 years. It pokes out to Horford, and Crawford off the mark from three. Horford kept it alive but knocked it out of play.
Yeah, right now Atlanta is playing something that I just refer to as bully ball. I mean, this is what you play when you get your son in the driveway. You know, you just back him down and pin him under the house.
You do that to your son?
Well, he's not ready yet. He's 10. He's got a few more years to take that kind of abuse. But that's all Atlanta's doing right now. They're physically just backing every member of the Golden State Warriors into the paint and using their size and strength to get that advantage at the rim. It's what I expected at the start of the game. And I think Mike Woodson probably had some choice words for the Hawks at halftime. Now they've come out in a totally different strategy, slowed the game down by going inside and making Golden State work a lot harder defensively.
I don't know if that's what Dell did to Stephen growing up, but whatever Del Curry did.
I guarantee you he did. I guarantee
it worked.
Can you imagine the horse games that Dell and Stephen could have at their house out in the driveway? Could take hours.
And then you throw Seth Curry in there too. Stephen's a younger brother who is transferring from Liberty to Duke. He's sitting out this year. Will be eligible next year. 3 more years of eligibility for the Blue Devils. And their dad Dell played 16 years in the league, now a broadcaster with the Charlotte Bobcats as Ellis misses the second free throw. Crawford coming off a screen, and Horford getting called for the illegal pick. Second Atlanta foul and their first turnover in the last 15 minutes. And Horford picks up another one.
You know, a smart play by C.J. Watson. He saw that Al Horford, you know, he had him extended pretty far out on the perimeter. Not a place that Horford really wants to be defensively. And Watson basically just threw his body into him, gave some body language for the official, and picks up a cheap foul. And Horford that time just trying to slide on the pick and roll.
Oh, great pass by Tolliver. Curry can't spin it in, but got it back. That's 8 rebounds now for Stephen Curry and 22 points.
Great nose for the basketball for Steph Curry. A beautiful pass that time by Tolliver on the give and go. Curry didn't get the first one to go, but stuck with it and gets the easy putback. And Golden State hanging around. They got it to 10. Very important 3 minutes to finish out this quarter.
And traveling called on Josh Smith.
This is a great give and go right here. Turns the corner, and beautiful pass goes up over Al Horford's outstretched arm, and that time Curry just stays with it. Devin George helps out.
Tolliver gives it right back. Behind the back move by Crawford, and the tip by Horford.
Boy, Jamal Crawford, when he gets out in the open floor, I mean, he has had more highlight reel type plays where he just crosses guys up, goes around the back. He's going to put on a show every time he gets the opportunity in space in transition, and he did it again that time.
Curry throws it away. Only 2 assists tonight. Had trouble with the turnovers the last couple games. Had 10 the other night against Utah. Atlanta by 12. Horford with the catch and the finish, and he's got 22 in the game. 13 points here in the third quarter.
Well, you've only seen about 3 or 4 jump shots out of the Atlanta Hawks this entire quarter. Everything has been down in the paint, just punishing the Warriors for playing this smaller lineup.
Watson got it to drop in. That's 9 points now for C.J. Watson at his average on the year, but they give up a dunk on the other end to Josh Smith.
And the Warriors that time, a little sigh of relief that they saw a ball go in and did not get back defensively in Atlanta. Forcing the issue in transition. Here they come back again. Another easy bucket. That time Al Horford
right now, everything is broken down for the Golden State Warriors at both ends.
Great no-look pass by Jeff Teague. Rookie out of Wake Forest with his 3rd assist, and now 24 points for Horford. Don Nelson calls it timeout as it's a 16-point Atlanta lead. You talked about the Hawks pounding the ball into the lane against Atlanta here, or against Golden State here in the 3rd quarter.
I mean, this is it. It's just individual matchups. Joe Johnson knows he can get wherever he wants by backing down Monte Ellis. Al Horford going right at Biedrich, getting to the front of the rim. Little give and go this time. Josh Smith hits Horford at the rim, and they just keep going that route. Look at the high-low action. Perfect seal by Horford. Beautiful delivery by Josh Smith. The 2 big guys playing catch inside, and see right here, they spread it out nice and balanced. They've got other guys involved.
Horford with 24, Johnson 20. Crawford hadn't even scored yet in the 3rd quarter.
But 10 out of the 13 buckets for Atlanta in this quarter have come within 5 feet of the rim. And that's just the way you have to attack a team like Golden State. You cannot settle for jump shots, because long rebounds means these guards get out, Watson and Curry and Ellis, and they're flying at the other end. And now you've got a lot of problems. When you make 5 guys get into paint to help and defend and have to rebound the basketball, they just can't get out and run as easily.
Tim, is this a sign of how Atlanta has matured? You talked about the continuity with guys being together early in the game. They came out, kind of played into Golden State's hands, but now you see him just working it into the paint, not worried about who gets the shots.
This is a trap game. It really is. You come into this building, you look over before the game. Golden State's got 8 guys suited up. You've got a number of guys that weren't even on a roster when the year started. You're Atlanta, you've got some offensive firepower. You're thinking, man, this could be fun tonight. You know, get up and down. This could be like a pickup game. And that's how they kind of played in the first half. And that's not what a team that's aspiring to greater things is going to play like against a team like Golden State. And they've come out and shown Golden State what you have to do from a discipline standpoint to attack. And they've been very, very good at getting the ball where they want to in the paint.
Here's Josh Smith all the way for the jam after the Ellis turnover.
Well, he's a Defensive Player of the Year candidate for the last 3 or 4 seasons. Josh Smith does a little bit of everything down there. Blocking shots, rebounding, and that time playing the passing lanes and getting out for a highlight show. And again, jumps to switch. Stephen Curry saying, hey, I'm going back door on that, but look at Josh Smith. He got one. He was hungry for a second one there, but look at that. Reads the switch, jumps in the passing lane, and then obviously you know he's going to finish it a certain special way once he gets out there.
14 points, 14 rebounds for Josh Smith. This quarter alone, Smith has 7 points and 8 rebounds. Watson off the mark, and Crawford's got it. Chance for Atlanta to push the lead to 20. They led by just 1 at halftime. Shot clock down to 7. Horford to Smith. And out of bounds to Golden State. Quick inbound by Curry. And a foul call. Get Josh Smith for the personal. 2 on him. Pachulia will come back in for Atlanta, make that 3 fouls on Smith. Horford will go to the bench.
I think you're seeing some real fatigue here in a part of the Golden State Warriors. I'm looking at Curry, I'm looking at Ellis. You know, these guys are tired right now. Part of it's because when you're playing shorthanded, it's one thing, but then when you're also having to just guard guys that keep backing you down into the post, and you're using so much upper body strength to fight them off, it really drains you, and it starts to take your legs on the other end.
Ellis with a 3. 21 points now for Monte Ellis. His first field goal, though, of the 3rd quarter. How about a 10-second difference between the game and shot clocks? Crawford, tough shot. His first points of the 2nd half. And Golden State will hold for the final shot of the 3rd quarter. Watson with 6, gets to the basket. No, the putback for Chris Hunter. Inbound to Williams. Plenty of time, so Williams takes it to the basket and scores with 0.8 of a second left. Ellis got it off. and it won't go. And Atlanta takes a 17-point lead to the fourth quarter.
So right now, the Atlanta Hawks showing you why they have been one of the top teams in the Eastern Conference all season, being led by their superstar, Joe Johnson, and the rest of the cast joining in. Hawks pulling away from Golden State.
Back in Oakland, Dave Pasch with Don Nelson. They were able to pound the paint there, Coach, in the third quarter with only 8 healthy players and limited big men. Is there anything you can do to combat that in the fourth?
Well, they have a tremendous size advantage against us, so they're going to win the rebounding game. We played so well the first half. We got the ball in the open court. We took advantage of our strength, which is a small team and a quick team. But they got to us in the third. We did not play well in the third.
Stephen Curry continues to shine, Coach. Has he exceeded your expectations for what you had, or is this what you thought you'd get out of him this year?
Well, I didn't think he'd be this good as a rookie, but I thought he would be this good, and he's going to be a tremendous point guard. We love him to death.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.
Yeah, he hit it on the head. I mean, the rebounding and the physical problems they're going to have with Atlanta's front line really came to fruition in that third quarter.
An unheard of 24 points in the paint in the third quarter alone for the Atlanta Hawks. It just shows you that they had the discipline that they needed to have to build this lead. And now we'll see if Golden State can make a run. They've got plenty of firepower, and there's plenty of time left, but they've got to force some turnovers to make that happen.
The Hawks put up 38 in the quarter, but as you said, 24 of those coming in the paint. Stephen Curry has 22 points to lead the way for Golden State. Horford has 24 for Atlanta. Smith tried to feed the paint, intercepted by Chris Hunter. Here's Morrow in transition. Can't make it back-to-back baskets. Out of bounds, though, to the Warriors.
But that time you saw at least some activity in the paint. The interior passing that time, there's a deflection. You get out, you run, you get a wide-open look. And now it also makes them a better offensive rebounding team because in transition, it's much more difficult for Atlanta to get a body on some of those quicker players. And now it leads to a second chance.
Matt Boland says put the shot clock back to 24. Atlanta with a win would tie Boston for the third best record in the Eastern Conference as Curry connects again. He's 11 of 16 from the floor.
You don't typically see players this young that are that good with showing the basketball, but he uses every advantage that he has to make sure he can get to a spot to get open to release that jump shot. Phenomenal ball fakes and always under control. Thing I've loved about Steph Curry more than anything else.
Pachulia has it swatted away by Tolliver. Got it back and lost it to Watson. Morrow with the spin, and Smith blocked it, but goaltend. Count the basket.
And all of that was created with the energy defensively, the activity with their hands, forcing the basketball onto the floor. Now you have an advantage because you've got quicker players that'll get to those, get out, and let these one-on-one players that you have in the open court go to work.
Hit the backboard, so goaltending. Golden State within 11. Smith to Pachulia, and he's fouled. Watson on the reach-in. So Zaza Pachulia, former second-round pick of the Orlando Magic, will go to the line for 2. Atlanta's now attempted 17 more free throws than Golden State. Kobe Bryant expects to be back for the Lakers Tuesday on NBA TV when they meet Memphis. Lakers will be in Dallas on Wednesday. You can see that game on ESPN. Thursday on TNT, Cavs at Celtics, followed by Denver playing here at Golden State. And on ABC Sunday, a doubleheader begins at 1 from San Antonio with the Suns visiting the Spurs. And a rematch and a potential preview of this year's Western Finals, Denver at the Lakers. Denver 2-0 against LA this year. And Curry and Morrow not on the same page. Had a chance there to maybe cut it to 9 with a 3-point opportunity.
Well, that right there is just a young player making a mistake. They want Stephen Curry to get into pick and roll over there, and that's what Don Nelson called out. And there's no reason to throw that ball up top that time to Anthony Morrow. Just go ahead, let him make his cut, and I'll get into the pick and roll and run your offense. Curry's the guy that's making things happen. He should know that right now his team needs him to keep the basketball.
He's done that a few times in this game. Shot clock to 7. Johnson backing down Morrow. and then hits the turnaround. He's got 22.
You know, it's just too many dribbles. And I don't know if Golden State has a double team scheme that they talked about before the game, but as a player defensively, when you're on the court, you see a guy get that many dribbles, your instinct is to go over there and make him give the basketball up, because you know Joe Johnson's just going to turn and shoot over somebody if he gets to that area of the floor.
Morrow with a nice pass to Chris Hunter. Back to a 12-point Atlanta lead.
Now, let's see what they do. They're going right back to it. Joe Johnson knows where he wants to get to. Gets into the paint. Now that's
goaltending.
And that's a much quicker move. And that's difficult to necessarily have a double team on that, because he took one dribble off the face-up and then he just exploded to the rim. But right now, Joe Johnson's going to dictate the outcome of this game for the Atlanta Hawks. The ball's going to go through him, and he's going to be the decision maker. And Golden State, I would say, if you're
Don Nelson in the Warriors, you've got to make some other guys become jump shooters right now and double team the basketball, and Joe Johnson has it.
Here's Curry. Finds Hunter. It won't drop, but he'll go to the line. Still a good play by Stephen Curry. You know, you see a lot of times guys, when they come to the NBA, change their game. And sometimes they have to change their game. But the way Curry plays here is the same way he played at Davidson.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, he probably doesn't have quite as much freedom and responsibility that he had at Davidson, but it's similar. He's out on the floor, and he's either going to be running pick and roll and using vision to find people, or he's going to be figuring out a way to get into his jump shot. And we've seen pretty much everything that Stephen Curry was at Davidson you've seen here tonight. A lot of those same things, and it's just translated to the next level. So give him a lot of credit. He's a great understanding of the game and his limitations and strengths, and more often than not, he's playing to those strengths.
Smith to the bench, Horford back on the floor. Curry led the NCAA in scoring last year. Spent 3 seasons at Davidson, left early, and was the 7th pick in the draft, as Hunter misses the second one as well, and Crawford gets to the loose ball. Game 2, actually game 4 on the family of networks of our Sunday contest coming up. Utah at Portland, game 2 here on ESPN. You saw the 2 ABC games earlier today with Cleveland losing at Orlando, 3 straight losses now for the Cavs. And then Boston falling on the road to Denver. Here, Atlanta on the road, leading Golden State by 13. Still a lot of time left for the high-flying Warriors.
ESPN Special Edition of the NBA, brought to you by Range Rover, the luxury that's more than a luxury, and Gillette Fusion, the #1 razor recommended by dermatologists.
Mark Jones back in the studio with the SportsCenter in-game update. Oklahoma City now the hottest team in the NBA, courtesy of Kevin Durant, a.k.a. the Durantula, with a 4-point play. He's had 25 or more points in 28 consecutive games, now just behind Michael Jordan on that list. Coming up next, former Clipper Marcus Camby had 2 points in his Portland debut. Found out he was traded to Portland while out at dinner, Dave Pasch, with his Clipper teammates. So beware when that phone rings at dinner.
Yeah, you telling me something that I should know?
Hey, I got traded on a team cruise, okay? So watching ESPN in my cabin. So I know how some of these trades can go down sometimes.
Let's take a look at your top teams. Jonesy was talking about Utah coming up, playing against Camby and the Blazers. You've got them as one of your top 5 teams.
After you get past Cleveland and the Lakers, honestly, when you put Denver, Utah, Orlando, you got to throw Dallas into that mix, even a team like Atlanta. Those teams are interchangeable right now. Cleveland and LA have been the most consistent all season, but Utah right now, obviously the hottest team in the entire league. Denver has been a team that has so much firepower, and now they're starting to figure out, you know, how to close out games and win tight games as well. And then the Dallas Mavericks, the trade they just made, they're going to be thrust into that. And Orlando's playing great basketball. So a lot of balance. The league is pretty top heavy right now. But after those first 2, it's anybody's game, I think.
And got to give Jerry Sloan a lot of credit for what he's done there in Utah.
Finds a way to get those guys recharged every year. Just when you think they're out of it, when they can't win on the road, they put together a streak like this.
Morrow from Watson. It's down to double or single figures, a 9-point game with 8 minutes to play.
When the quarter started, I said there was a lot of time. And with this team, 12 minutes is an eternity because of the number of possessions that they can create. If they can find a way to force some difficult shots or turnovers by Atlanta, they've been able to do that the last couple of minutes.
Crawford got it down to Horford. Blocked into the hands of Watson. Watson takes it all the way and mugged by Pachulia. Hard foul. No flagrant foul is called.
Well, it's not that uncommon to hear Pachulia
and hard foul in the same sentence. I mean, that's one of the things that he does. That's sort of an enforcer mentality with this team, and he's a physical guy. He will protect that basket at all costs, and definitely a lot of contact on that, but he did try to wrap C.J. Watson up the best that he could.
Watson, a 77% free throw shooter. He was 10 for 10 against Utah on Friday. Here's a guy that was signed from the D-League a couple years ago, also played in Europe. Had a 40-point game against Sacramento last week. Had a 38-point game last year against Utah. And he's been the catalyst here during this run by Golden State to get back with an 8.
And for the Warriors, I think this lineup, C.J. Watson and Chris Hunter, two guys that have really caused a lot of trouble for Atlanta the last 4 or 5 trips defensively. Watson is all over the place right now with double teaming and scrambling, just trying to make something happen. And Hunter done a nice job contesting Horford and Josh Smith around the rim. It's led to some runouts.
You saw Watson there with the Mohawk and the fan in the stands. Watson was actually helping give fans Mohawks before the game. He was shaving some heads outside. We tried to get legs to do it, but he wouldn't.
Not a good look for me.
I think the reverse Mohawk would fit you. This is him before the game, as we mentioned, giving some Mohawks to some of the fans coming in. That guy right there is thinking, I just hope he knows what he's doing with it.
At least he's not giving pedicures.
Good point. Smith, no. Biedrins with his 10th rebound. Golden State can get it to 5, maybe 4. Here's Curry going to work on Williams, and he'll go to the line.
One of Stephen Curry's favorite moves is that slight hesitation when he's got the live dribble, that he's getting ready to freeze and go into his jump shot, and it's just a quick hesitation, and all it does make a defender shift his weight from back on his heels to leaning forward because you're trying to go up and contest. Meanwhile, he keeps his dribble alive and then explodes to the rim. Just a phenomenal jump. Look at that right there. Just a hesitation. Marvin Williams just leaned forward because he was getting ready to go contest that jump shot, and Curry set him up perfectly to go right to left and then get to the rim and draw the foul.
Curry averaging 15 points per game on the year, and over the last 7 games better than 22 points per game. It's a 9-0 Golden State run.
You know, Don Nelson has gone a long run now without Monte Ellis on the floor because this team is really getting after it defensively and making some things happen to get them back in this game.
Smith trying to split the double team is fouled. They get Biedrins for his third team foul. Both teams have committed 3 fouls here in the 4th quarter.
So I think this is where, if you're Mike Woodson, you get the ball to Joe Johnson in the post and play out of that. Space the floor, and if a double team comes, you've got some shooters on the court.
Good D by Biedrins. A little bit harder to go into the paint with Biedrins on the floor. They settle for a long jumper. Johnson can't hit it. Curry looking to run. Curry waits, now fires. And hits a 3! Straight points for Golden State. The Warriors behind Stephen Curry's 29 points. Down just 2, Mark Jones.
And after a great finish there, a great game coming up, Utah at Portland. The Jazz led by Carlos Boozer, still a member of the Utah Jazz, the center of trade speculation before the deadline. Utah's won 16 of 18.
NBA players care about the community. Last week, more than 1,500 members of the NBA family, including East and West All-Stars, partners, and guests, rolled up their sleeves to take part in the annual NBA Cares All-Star Day of Service. Players spent time off the court and in the North Texas community, participating in school renovations, dedicating a new reading and learning center, refurbishing homes, and building a new playground to provide places where children and families can live, learn, or play. The NBA, where caring happens. Golden State has pulled back within 2 after trailing by 18 in the 3rd. Stephen Curry's got 29 points.
Great job in transition. Look at the head up the entire time. He let the traffic clear and then just got right up into his jump shot. He knows right now, especially with Ellis not on the floor, this is his show. And he's not a rookie anymore. At this stage of the season, with all he's been through and much as he's grown this year, he wants this moment now. And he's shown you over the last month or so that he's ready to take on this kind of role.
And Don Nelson, you talked about this too. Surprised at how he rebounds. He's got 9 boards in this game tonight. Had a triple-double last week. Probably not going to get there tonight because of only 2 assists. Here's Crawford. Had 15 first-half points, held to just 2 here in the second half. Smith with the spin. Can't score. Horford there. Look at Curry. Tie him up. It'll be Curry and Horford for the jump ball.
Yeah, Josh Smith that time really just didn't know where he was once he started to make his move, got pinned behind the rim. This is what Golden State's been doing consistently this entire quarter, getting in there, and the guards are scrapping, raking down, getting their hands on basketballs. Steph Curry that time at least gives them a chance to come up with a possession, but the Hawks win the tip.
Shot clock at 5. They needed the quick shot. They couldn't get it to drop. Golden State can tie or take the lead. Great pass down court. Watson with the finish. We're tied.
What a pass by Stephen Curry. Perfectly timed, and a great catch and finish by Watson in the open court.
They were down 18 late in the third. We're halfway through the fourth, and it's a tie ball game. Atlanta's missed 6 straight. Now 7 in a row. Biedrins the rebound. Watson says, give it to him, number 30.
I concur with that decision.
Biedrins with 8 on the shot clock. Here's Watson at the free throw line. Got his own miss. And then a hard foul on Smith. That's the 5th on Josh Smith.
This is the vision that we've seen out of this guy ever since he was at Davidson, but really has blossomed this year now that he's officially become a point guard, not solely a scorer. That is just perfect touch and very athletic play by C.J. Watson to be able to finish that with the reverse.
Beautiful move by Curry. Finish with the left hand. A 16-0 run for Golden State. And their first lead since late in the second quarter.
Curry has just taken over this game. Splits the pick and roll and then finishes.
He's got 31. Joe Johnson has 26 now.
That's what got the Hawks that big lead. Just going to Joe Johnson in the post. That's the first possession in the last 5 or 6 that they've actually gone back to that. They will get something good if they stick with it.
Morrow, no. Biedrins the rebound. Well, that field goal for Johnson was Atlanta's first in 4.5 minutes. Somebody's open. It's Hunter under the basket. Hunter, no. Biedrins, yes.
The energy has just completely changed now. Golden State is getting after it on both ends. They're beating Atlanta to every basketball. And they can sense now they've got a chance to try to close this out over the next 4 minutes.
And then Morrow picks up a foul guarding Joe Johnson.
Watch this. The low dribble keeps the ball below his knees. That's the only way you can split pick and rolls, to keep it down there. And then he has shown you time and time again he can finish with either hand. This is just Josh Smith going to contest. No one sinks down to help him out when he leaves Biedrins. And that's what Biedrins is on the floor for, to follow up and give you some extra possessions.
Monte Ellis just came back in. He's been on the bench for a long time. Comes out to the court with his team leading now.
I mean, he's their 26-point-a-night guy, but right now they had a great flow going with that unit.
Just picked up a foul there covering Johnson. And that puts the Warriors in the penalty. Don Nelson doesn't like to call. 4th on Ellis. So Joe Johnson, an 83% free throw shooter, will go to the stripe. Atlanta 1-1 so far in this road trip. They've got Utah tomorrow night. Trying to keep pace with Orlando, Cleveland, and Boston. The Hawks 34-19. With a win, they tie the Celtics for the 3rd best mark in the East.
And this is always a difficult situation for a head coach when you have your best player out and a unit makes a run at this time of the game. You're getting down now to, winning time, basically. And Monte Ellis is on the bench for the first 8 minutes of the quarter, and it's the best run the Warriors have had all night.
You go back to him, you're taking a little bit of a chance with the flow of the game right now.
Plus, he was cold in the third quarter after a great first half. Finds Hunter, shoots the jumper, and it gets it to drop.
Well, that's bonus offense right there. That's not something you expect out of Chris Hunter, but right now, why not? Everything else is going right for the Warriors. Got a good look, nice soft touch, and got it to drop.
He's got 11. He averages 3 per game. On the other end, Horford now with 26 points. Golden State shooting 73% in the fourth quarter, nearing 3-minute mark, tied with Atlanta at 101 apiece. Here's Curry. He's got 31 points. Shot clock to 7. Beatrice, Hunter, and Smith got a piece of that.
You see how quick Josh Smith was off his feet that time. Hunter was up considerably sooner than Josh Smith, but he still was able to get up there and get a piece of that shot attempt.
Johnson with 8 on the shot clock. Great defensive play and hustle by Ellis, and Johnson just dives on him, and a foul is called.
Well, you give Monte Ellis a lot of credit. He sat there for a long time. Offensively, he's really taken out of the game. Comes out and finds a way to impact the game in a different way than scoring the basketball. Digging down deep. Knows that his team needs him to make a play. Get on the floor and get after it. We're all deadlocked.
4-0. What you got for us, Boo? I got 1 on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Well, no wonder they're all fired up. They're the hottest team in the NBA right now. The Utah Jazz have won 16 of their last 18. They'll try to get another road win here tonight as Marcus Camby plays his second game for the Blazers.
Tomorrow night, Dan Shulman on ESPN. It's Big Monday presented by Bud Light. Connecticut, the big game trying to build its resume, taking on West Virginia, followed by Kansas and Oklahoma. NBA is back on ESPN Wednesday night. Kobe Bryant expected back on Tuesday when the Lakers visit Memphis, so he should play Wednesday when the Lakers visit the new look Dallas Mavericks after the Caron Butler trade. Here in Oakland, Stephen Curry, 31 points and 9 rebounds as the Warriors have come back from 18 down to tie it.
Well, we hyped up everything this rookie could do before the game, and he has shown us a little bit of everything. The vision, look at the left-handed pass in transition. We know about the stroke. That's always been there. But we've seen another element in this game. That's his ability to take over the game offensively. It's something he's grown into this role over the last month or so. And right now, it's been the Stephen Curry show to get the Warriors back from a huge deficit to where now they're in position to win this basketball game with about 2.5 minutes to play.
Sometimes in this offense, Tim, to get 31 points, you may have to take 25, 26 shots. But Curry, 13 of 18 from the field. Very efficient.
Efficiency is a big thing in this league with me particularly. When you talk about very high points per shot attempt total, that means a guy that's shooting a high percentage from the field. He's getting to the line. Usually that guy's a three-point shooter as well to maximize his possessions, and Stephen Curry's done that all tonight. Monte Ellis was great through 3 quarters, and Curry just took over this game in the 4th.
Against a very good Atlanta Hawk team. Remember, this is a team many feel can contend with Boston, Orlando, and Cleveland for the Eastern Conference title.
And the Hawks just had a mental lapse at the start of this quarter. They thought the game was out of reach. They got away from what got them the lead, and now you've given a team with a lot of firepower life, and now they're going to be difficult to keep under control.
Ellis gives Golden State a 1-point lead. Woodson's team shot 62% in the third quarter, 24 points in the paint in the third, but they're right around 30% shooting in the 4th, settling for more jumpers here. Ellis missed the second free throw. Golden State leading by 1, 2.5 remaining in the 4th.
And what's worked for Atlanta the entire night is trying to get the ball to Joe Johnson in the post.
Beatrice with a block. Watson tried to save it. They went to Smith that time.
And they keep going to Josh Smith, and he's been coming up with empty trips the last few minutes of this game. He just is not converting these possessions that he's getting down low. and he's not drawing fouls either. So I think they got to get the ball in the hands of Joe Johnson and let him decide what's going to happen for your team offensively.
Johnson, 3 with 3 on the shot clock.
That's why this guy's an all-star, and he's cool as ice down the stretch. And I expect the ball to be in his hands every possession from here on out.
Good play by Crawford, but he lost it out of bounds. Crawford arguing with Matt Boland about the call, but it'll be Golden State basketball with 15 on the shot clock. Joe Johnson has 31. Stephen Curry has 31. Two guys we talked about in the open, both shining tonight. Watson trying to get free off the screen. Shot clock at 6. Here's Ellis with the jumper way off.
I mean, he just sat for a long time, and to come out and ask him to go one-on-one in the middle of the floor against a tall defender when you're probably not as loose as you'd like to be, that's asking an awful lot.
Ellis was shaking his head as he came back down the floor, frustrated with himself. Good look to Horford, and the block by Hunter.
Well, Hunter and Beatrice have done a tremendous job of manning up around the rim and just providing some sort of deterrent that you did not see in the third quarter, making Atlanta Hawk players think twice now when you get around that rim.
Mike Woodson calls a 22nd timeout with Atlanta leading Golden State by 2, 1:42 remaining. Right now, let's go back to the studio, check in with Mark Jones.
All right, thanks a lot, Dave. Remember, coming up next, the Utah Jazz, one of the hottest teams in the league right now. They've won 16 of their last 18 games. They take on the Portland Trail Blazers, who've been held together with spit tape and glue this year.
About whether Boozer would be sent packing. Utah moved Ronnie Brewer, but they don't seem to miss a beat. They won here at Golden State on Friday, and looking to knock off the Blazers in Portland coming up next.
It's rare in the NBA that you get every guy on your rotation playing at a high level at the same time. That's pretty much what's going on with Utah. Their bench guys have been tremendous. Williams and Boozer and those starters are all, playing at a high level right now. If you're Jerry Sloan, this is fun. You sit back and ride it and watch your team when they're playing this well, and eventually they'll hit a rough patch, but not right now.
8 seconds to shoot. Atlanta with the ball leading by 2. Crawford can't hit the jumper. Offensive rebound, Josh Smith, and a fresh 24.
That's big. And Beatrice did a great job boxing out. That time it just ricocheted a little bit further out and went right over his head, and Josh Smith corralled it. Back to Smith in the post. This is what you have to do if you're the Hawks right now and make Golden State figure out what they want to do defensively.
Here's Johnson. Got the defender in the air. Smith, another rebound, is 17th. Smith ties a season high with his 17th board. We near a minute to go. Third opportunity on this possession. Ellis is there defensively. Horford will challenge. Ellis lays it in. We're tied at 104.
Tremendous play by Ellis to come from behind. Joe Johnson lost track of where he was. Ellis stayed with the play and made something happen again with his defense.
Ten to shoot. Crawford, the former Warrior, lost the ball, got it back. Shot clock at 3. Horford, way off. And then 2 Warriors collide, and it goes to Atlanta. It was Watson and Curry who ran into each other.
And Jamal Crawford picks up a technical foul.
Oh, talk about bad timing. So Curry will come down and shoot a free throw. Crawford just scored earlier his 10,000th career point, and then he picks up a silly technical here in the final 35 seconds.
Yeah, and Jamal knows you just cannot let your emotions get the best of you in this situation. You've got a tie game with possession with 34 seconds left. Now you send a guy that's automatic to the foul line, and now Golden State takes the lead. Mike Woodson needs a timeout here to talk things over.
Crawford thought he was fouled in front of the Golden State bench. No call. But it is Atlanta ball, down 1. What do you expect to see from the Hawks on this possession?
Well, they're definitely going to get the ball in the hands of Joe Johnson. I think if you're smart, you get the ball to him in the post by some sort of misdirection where you start him on one side of the floor, maybe bring him off the screen into the post so he can establish deeper position, and then just let him play.
Go at Monte Ellis, who's probably going to be guarding him. Use your size. Try to get to the rim and make something happen. If Golden State doubles, you've got enough guys on the floor, but Jamal Crawford and guys can stretch the floor and make shots.
Why do you think Atlanta has not had as much success getting into the paint this quarter as they did in the third?
Well, two reasons. One, Beatrice and Hunter have been tremendous this quarter of protecting the rim and making plays. I think in that third quarter, they were really back on their heels, and they weren't making their presence felt at all. And the other thing, guys like Ellis and C.J. Watson have really gotten down and dug down in there, got their hand on some balls, and helped out their post players. The activity level has just been so much higher in this quarter.
Great night for Stephen Curry with 32 points. Joe Johnson has 31 for Atlanta. Hawks have the ball. They trail by 1 with 34.6 left. Let's see if they pound the lane again. It's Johnson guarded by Ellis. They clear it out. Johnson runs into the double team. Atlanta still has a timeout. Johnson kicks it to Crawford from the corner. Not there. Rebound. Ellis lost the ball, but a foul call. Ellis will go to the free throw line to shoot 2 as Atlanta's in the penalty.
It's surprisingly a team that's been together, that's been into the playoff, that has high expectations, has lost their composure down the stretch. And the young team with guys coming from the NBDL and Europe and undrafted players has been a team that's made all the plays down the stretch that they needed to put themselves in position here with these last 12 seconds to win a basketball game.
The technical may be the difference. Curry hit the free throw to push it to a 1-point lead. Now Ellis will shoot 2. Try to get the lead to 3.
I give Monte Ellis a tremendous amount of credit, because to sit there and watch your team go on the run they did at the start of the fourth quarter, and you are a 26-point player and you're the guy that you think is an all-star, to come in and make plays defensively, 2 strips, comes up with a loose ball right there to get himself to the foul line. You got to get him credit for staying with it mentally and helping his team win.
3-point game. Atlanta will call its final timeout. Golden State trailed by 18 in the third quarter. And then Monte Ellis, their leading scorer, and the 6th leading scorer in the league, went to the bench. Stephen Curry took over, and Golden State leads the Hawks with 12 seconds to play. Joe Johnson's been pretty good for Atlanta tonight. He's got 31. Stephen Curry with a game-high 32.
It's been all about the guards in this one. Joe Johnson, 4-time All-Star for a reason. This is just cool right here. He's one of the best big shot makers that we have in this league. And he wants the basketball with the game on the line. And fortunately for the Hawks, he hasn't had it in his hands enough here down the stretch. But Stephen Curry's done a little bit of everything to help his team win. He's just been the show tonight for the Golden State Warriors. Scoring when he has to, but also making plays for other people and running a team with a lot of guys that want the basketball. Not an easy role for a rookie, but Stephen Curry is showing you tonight why this guy has grown by leaps and bounds throughout the season.
See the numbers for Curry and Johnson. So 11.9 seconds remaining. Atlanta out of timeouts. Who's taking the 3 if you're the Hawks? Is it Joe Johnson or is it Jamal Crawford?
Well, that's a great luxury. You've got both guys, and both guys have always been known throughout their careers as wanting the ball in this situation. You've got to start with it in the hands of Joe Johnson, because if he gets double teamed, he's more likely to make the right decision in terms of finding somebody. Jamal Crawford is a guy that might be more susceptible to turning the ball over in that situation. He's a scorer. I'd rather let Joe Johnson have the option. Read the defense or find somebody else on the perimeter. 12 seconds to go. They could try to get a quick 2 and then commit a foul. The problem is you've got guys on the Golden State Warriors with Monte Ellis and Steph Curry that are just knocked down foul shooters.
Atlanta out of timeouts. Here's Crawford. 8 seconds left. It's Smith for 3. No. And 2 Warriors fight for the rebound, then an Atlanta foul. They had plenty of time, and it ends up Josh Smith, who has not made a 3 all year, is the guy taking it with 7 seconds remaining.
And again, it's a composure situation right there. Jamal Crawford wanted the look. He got trapped, split it. There's still plenty of time to move the basketball once Josh Smith had it in his hands. He did not have to force that shot right there. And Mike Woodson looked as confused and perplexed on the sideline after that shot as anybody else in the arena. And Don Nelson and the Warriors will certainly live with Josh Smith taking that shot any day of the week.
Joe Johnson didn't touch it on that possession.
Joe Johnson ended up in the left corner. The ball's up top, and the ball gets sent to the right side of the floor. From that point, very difficult to get it back into his hands. If I'm Mike Woodson out of that timeout, the one thing I know for certain is that ball is going to get in the hands of Joe Johnson one way or another. He's the guy that I want to decide matters for me.
So Chris Hunter can win the game with a made free throw. Hunter, a rookie from Michigan, who's barely played. He was in the D-League, played for the Fort Wayne Mad Ants, and was signed by the Warriors. He's got 11 points in this game, but just 1 of 3 at the foul line. Got the big one, though, to push it to 4. Monta Ellis tells his teammates no foul. Now Crawford is the all-time leader in 4-point plays in the NBA. And they needed 4 there. Didn't get it. Golden State comes back from 18 down behind. 32 points from Stephen Curry to beat the Atlanta Hawks 108-104. A 22-point swing in the final 13.5 minutes.
One of the best wins the Golden State Warriors have had all season with all their injury issues. To be down that far to a quality team at home and rally back, just more in the learning and growth of young players like Stephen Curry.
Golden State's 16th win of the season. Atlanta falls to 34-20. What a comeback by the Warriors. Stephen Curry had 9 rebounds to go along with those 32 points and 3 assists. More NBA action coming up next on ESPN as Utah visits Portland. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For Tim Legler and our entire crew, I'm Dave Pasch. So long from Oakland, where Golden State comes back to beat Atlanta. Now to Dan Schulman and Doris Burke in Portland.